Hey everyone, welcome back to Nadlan Forum Podcast Daily. It's Ruby here, and of course joined by the ever knowledgeable Lior. Today, home price growth is our big headline because prices are still going up, but honestly, barely moving compared to the madness we've all seen.
Hi everyone, glad to be here. And Ruby, you said it. This is maybe the slowest annual growth in over a decade? Both the FHFA and Case-Shiller data from June pretty much agree. We're looking at plus 2.9% year over year from FHFA. That's the lowest since 2012. And Case-Shiller only plus 1.9% year over year. That's, I think, the softest pace in more than 2 years on their chart.
Yeah, it's wild because when you see the month-to-month stuff, a tiny minus here, a minus there, like 2 months in a row of slight drops seasonally from FHFA, you realize just how much things have calmed down. I remember doing my first deep dive into Sydney prices back in 2021, and it was just chaos. Listings would go up and boom, a week later, prices jumped 20-30 grand. Honestly, it was almost dizzying for anyone trying to get in. I can't even imagine what it'd be like starting out as a buyer today with this kind of slow, incremental change. Feels way less stressful, right? Unless you're a seller, I guess.
Absolutely. It's a different environment. I mean, May to June was, on the FHFA, minus 0.2% month over month. And even with Case-Shiller, you get a 0.4% unadjusted pop. But it's pulled down to 0.3% when seasonally adjusted. So all those crazy jumps are way behind us. We've entered this new slow motion phase. That's not a bad thing sometimes.
Yeah, it's like the brakes went on, but it's not reversing, just not racing forward anymore. All right, so it's not one size fits all. Lior, did you see how huge the gap is between regions? I mean, Middle Atlantic's up plus 6.7% year over year, but the Mountain Division barely scraping 0.7%. That's almost nothing for a place that was red hot a couple years ago.
Yeah, the split is massive. And, that's not just in the US. I saw the same thing back in Israel. But when I moved from Tel Aviv to New York in 2010, I literally watched New York go from sort of frozen to absolutely overheating over a few years. What's happening now is the inverse. All these markets that got overheated, like you said, Ruby, mountain region especially, are totally plateauing. Maybe as a direct result of high borrowing costs plus buyers taking a breather. Middle Atlantic, on the other hand, seems to have their own thing going on. More demand, less inventory, or whatever the magic combo is there.
And it's not just a chart. People feel that change on the ground, right? Like a friend of mine in the West was saying last year it was a total frenzy, but now hardly any open house crowds, everything sits a while. Meanwhile, in Philly, still busy, people lining up for showings, so it's not all cooling equally. And borrowing costs, oh man, we talked about that, 2 episodes back? That still weighs heavy on buyers, especially in places where price growth is plateauing. Kind of scary if you expect another run-up.
Exactly. And even the Case-Shiller data shows this, like the 20-city and 10-city composites, all moderating, not just nationally, but in those major metro markets that often set the national tone. I think we'll see more stories of local booms and busts, not some giant synchronized drop or anything. It's really about local dynamics now.
Yeah, that's kind of comforting for smaller investors and first-timers. No wild, unexpected jumps, but also you've really got to dig into what's driving your local market.
So, what does all this mean? For buyers, honestly, it could be a breath of fresh air. When the market slows down, you get more stability, fewer bidding wars, and hopefully a better shot at making a thoughtful decision instead of jumping at the first place you can afford.
Exactly. And for sellers, it's not just throw on 20 grand and see what happens anymore. Pricing right is everything. If you overshoot, you're going to sit. And the coming months, well, they'll be crucial. Will things stabilize at this snail's pace, or do we see a new dip? It's kind of wait and see, huh?
I agree. I'd say You gotta be super strategic now. I keep telling clients, ask, how many similar properties are on the market around me? And how long are they sitting? And if you're a buyer, is my payment stable even if prices come down a little? Or do I need to time things just right? You remember that FHFA case study out of Denver? First-time buyers there are seeing the slowdown give them some breathing room, but they're, still facing higher prices than a year ago. Just not the shock,
Totally. Nobody has a crystal ball, but at least when the pace crawls, you can plan. So I reckon for anyone out there, whether you're buying or selling, be realistic about expectations for growth or the lack of it, and lean on good local data, not just national headlines.
And, as always, if you're serious about jumping in, get that financing lined up with eyes wide open. The mortgage world is just as unpredictable as ever.
All right, that's all for today, folks. Thanks for tuning in, and Lior, always a pleasure hearing your take. We'll keep you posted as these trends keep playing out. Catch you next time.
Thank you, Ruby. Take care, everyone. See you in the next episode.